Well, good morning, everyone. Welcome to our Sunday morning service. And the question for today is, are we having fun yet? You see, everybody laughs when we say that, right? We have a smile on our face. So let's get started. All right. We'll get started with my talk, right? All righty. The title of my lesson today is Childlike Playfulness. So today I'm talking about the importance of having a carefree, playful attitude. Like the song Doris Day, the Doris Day movie, but you know, que sera, sera, whatever will be, will be. The future is not ours to see. Que sera, sera. No worries, just being in the now, playing. A childlike adult is able to be open, have fun, and learn and grow like a child. Jesus said, truly I say to you, unless you turn and become like children, you will never enter the kingdom of heaven. From Matthew. Another way of saying that is it might be, unless you turn and become childlike, you'll never enter the kingdom of heaven. So, what is the word childlike? How is that defined as? It's defined as of an adult having good qualities associated with a child. End quote. Synonyms for childlike are open, innocent, simple, unworldly, unsophisticated, trusting, trustful, unsuspicious, unguarded, without airs, or if you will, egoless, uninhibited, natural, spontaneous. Don't you just love those words? you know, but as I understand it, the best of those synonyms for me, for childlike, describing the nature of a childlikeness, is one word: open. Open. So this is today's message encapsulated in one word: openness. Open. To be childlike is to be open, to be in a state of openness, and the willingness to be playful and learn and grow just like a child. To be childish is like a closed fist. Here, the immature, fearful ego is in resistance to whatever it cannot control. To be childlike is to be open, like an open hand. Here, the childlike heart remains open, fearless, and free, even in the midst of challenges. Have you ever noticed that it's relatively easy to keep our hearts open when things are going as we like them to go, like an open hand? However, when things are not going our way, when we complain about something or we disagree with someone or our hearts begin to close down, it's like a closed fist. The spiritual challenge for us is to keep our hearts open, like an open hand, even when things are challenging. The mind and heart of a playful child like adult is open and flexible to yield when necessary. So let's play. Time to play. Let's remember how it was when you were a kid, well, at least for me. And let's get, and I was with somebody my age. Let's go outside and get away from the adults now. Please let me out of the house. You know, let's go outside and play. Let's play catch, anything, you know, anything. We could just find a stick and play with it or something. Anything being with the adults. Uh, there is worldly playfulness and there is spiritual childlike playfulness. These kind of two different things: worldly playfulness and spiritual childlike playfulness. In worldly playfulness, we play competitively in order to win against an opponent. In spiritual childlike playfulness, we are open to play cooperatively with our intuition triggered or open, and we play cooperatively, uh, we're open to play with each other. And there's no winning and losing. In worldly playfulness, there's a winner and a loser. In spiritual childlike playfulness, everyone wins. For me, I see a value in both worldly and spiritual childlike playfulness. I remember years ago, someone openly criticized my interest in competitive sports. I remember taking this opinion to heart, and I spent some time contemplating on it and came to understand why I do like competitive sports. In hindsight, I realized that competitive sports had, in a way, saved my life as a young man. As a shy and unhappy adolescent, I didn't have any sense of who I was or that I had any value as a person. I suddenly discovered in eighth grade that I was a good athlete. In gym class, the teacher asked all the guys to compete against each other in a difficult obstacle course that was timed and set up in the gymnasium. Whoever came in first would win. The very best male athletes in my class were competing against each other. As it turned out, I was shocked that I came in the second place, just barely behind the winner. I realized in that moment, wow, look what I just did. I really am a good athlete. I didn't know then the implications of that epiphany. From this experience, I began to build self confidence and self worth. I was somebody. I did have value. I actually began to like myself the way I was. Who knows? Maybe I could love myself the way I was. Many years have passed since that experience, and success as a high school basketball player. And when I was a high school basketball player, I had success in that. I remember how much fun it was to engage in worldly competitive playfulness. I liked what, and even today, I like watching competitive sports like the Olympics and the 49ers. Boo, I know, boo. I feel like that watching competitive athletics, when I watch them, it feels like it reminds me of when I used to play uh, uh, as a kid. So that's why I like watching it. It's just fun to watch it. So I ask you now, I'm asking everybody now, right now. I'm asking for maybe take a moment to share. Okay. What did you do when you were young, when you played? You know, what toys or objects did you play with? What competitive games did you like to play? What non-competitive games did you like to play? For instance, badminton, croquet, swinging on a swing, hide and seek, you know, ollie ollie in free, you know. I mean, playing. What did you guys like to do when you played as a kid? So now it's time for some sharing. I'm opening it up to mute and just briefly share maybe some things you'd like to do when you were a kid.
I'll start.
Okay.
That's easy for me. I grew up on a farm, and we would do everything outside that we possibly could, and we had a a young horse, a young I was a pony, and I was very young, but I loved just riding my horse and going out and picking blackberries. And on weekends, all my cousins would come over, and we would figure out whatever games we wanted to play and dance around the yard or whatever, and eat ice cream made with fresh peaches or something. So play was a big thing on the farm, and it was work, but there was a lot of play, especially when I was really young.
Yeah,
Thank you
thanks.
for reminding me of how fun that was.
Yeah, it's good to remember.
I'll
Anybody
just
else?
on this screen. When I was young, my neighbor had had horses and hay and a big barn. And in the spring, when the hay was low, we would end up one day practicing walking on the beams that had held the siding on all winter in the frame. These were like 10 by 10 oak beams. And we would walk the walls. And of course, we weren't fearful because if we fell, 6 feet, 8 feet down, there was a bed of hay, 3 or 4 feet. We simply relax and fall into it, and we chased each other around the inside of the barn, walking these beams, and it was outrageous because it was the first and ever only time we ever did this, uh, and it sticks in my memory.
Thank you, Robert. That's wonderful. Go ahead, Frank.
Oh, okay. Yeah, two things came to mind. The first thing was when Patty mentioned blackberries. Uh, Beginning of August was when they used to come in where we lived, and I knew where all of them good bushes were. So we'd all get these big pots from my grandmother and head out in the woods, and I'd go a circuitous route, hiding, and then I would go to my special place. I'd come back, and my grandmother, she'd be like, "Where the hell did you get all this?" And we'd have blackberry pancakes, syrup, pies. I mean, my grandmother would be gone all day baking and cooking with them. And then not the next thing was anytime I got to throw something, I was in heaven. Snowballs, knives, baseballs, football. I just love doing that. And we used to make our own hand grenades. We'd take mud, let it dry, and it would throw them on the road and it'd explode. That would be one of our most favorite things to do. So anyway,
Thank you. Thanks, Frank. That's great. Hey, Zach, what do you do when you like to play, man?
Today and yesterday, I like to think up stories. I would get all my action figures, and I would place them in different poses and make up stories. And this is really easy because I was deciding that I like to do this right as personal camcorders became a thing. So I would get all my friends to film all these movies. Like I once had my friend group recreate the first 15 minutes of Star Wars just in my living room. And we cut back and forth between the original movie on the TV screens.
Cool. That sounds like fun.
Yeah, see, it's a different time. I played in the woods. That's, we were, after we ate breakfast, like say in the summer, we just go in the woods until we heard my grandmother call us back in. We'd be there all day. My biggest memory is, and like Frank, I knew where all the stuff was. My mother decorated the house with stuff at Christmas that I pulled out of the woods, and I knew where all the best stuff grew and everything. I knew all the paths. But my biggest memory was myself, my brother, and a couple of his friends. We built a raft and we put it on the creek, convinced, we packed a lunch and everything, convinced that we could go on out and connect up with the Mississippi River, and we didn't get very far before we sunk. And so we just ate our lunch. But that's the kind of things we would do. We'd just go in the woods, we'd dig holes, we could climb trees,
Very cool. Very cool. Very good. Very nice. Thank you. Yeah, Leon.
I kind of got into sports because I was a small kid, and it was kind of a right into acceptance when I found out that I was pretty good at some stuff, and other people started to accept you if you could hit in Little League, or
Yeah.
win a wrestling match or something like that. And well, it kind of counterbalanced a love for reading that was pretty solitary as an activity. So it was good for me. So that and it was a lot of fun. And winning's fun, by the way. Yeah. So
Yeah, it is.
yeah.
Thanks, Leon. That leaves you, Mr. Playfulness. Yeah, you.
Okay, well, I'd have to ask my mentors, and you know who they are, right? The guys that they're here with me all the time. So what did we do when we were really young? I don't think they're going to agree with this, but I liked like Zach action figures. And I used to buy, a lot of I set up armies on the floor, and I'd love a lot of the military gear, tanks and jeeps and stuff. But the weird part about that was my mother was a smoker, and in those days you had the boxes that were they're hard boxes, and if you open up the front, it almost looks like an amphibian device, and I put wheels on them, and and I had a whole entire armada of these jeeps or amphibian devices that would come on the scene with all the soldiers and stuff. But the downside was that I wasn't very good in sports. My father passed away when I was very young, and never got into sports, and I was always the last person to be picked. So it was like, it was a terrible memory. Anytime we were picking for, football team or stickball or whatever. So I went back to my cigarette boxes and my soldiers. It seemed to be healing for me. And as far as having fun, I went to an aviation school, and we used to ship in a bunch of bucks and eat our sandwiches over the Hudson River, because somebody was always going for their hours, in a Cessna. And we'd pile into the Cessna with our tuna fish sandwiches or whatever and fly over the Hudson for lunch and then come back down. This is Teterboro Airport in New Jersey. And so yeah, a lot of memories, a lot of good stuff too. I'm done.
Yeah, and now, Neil, you're so playful. You're always telling jokes. You got those corny jokes that you always tell.
Very
And
corny.
they're
Very
very-
corny. Yes.
And there, your objective is to always bring a smile to the face. I know you. That's what you do.
Well, I
Bob,
think I think I get people to do eye exercises, like rolling of their eyes.
that's what I'm talking about. Yeah.
I can't remember how many times I saw the whites of my daughter's eyes where they go so far back, I'd be afraid that they wouldn't come forward again.
That's what I'm talking about. What you're doing right now. That's what you do. And so you're very playful. All of you are too. And we all are playful. And thank you for sharing it. Awesome. Thank you.
Speaking of young and play, did you read that the young prince, Prince William, soon to be king probably, his son is 11 years old and he is taking flying lessons. And I was wondering when the little kid is going to have a childhood. I'm sure that they're balancing that because they're pretty good parents compared to the old days of kings. But I was shocked how many 11-year-olds get to. You talked about flying, and that reminded me of this. So they said that his father took flying lessons at the same age, and then started practicing to be in the service. So this young man at 11 years old is going to be an adult soon.
Yeah, that's good. I hope it's a good example that, yeah. I think we as a generation are learning the value of play. I think our parents, I don't know, I can't speak for everybody, but remember that a belief that children should be what is
Seen
it?
and not heard.
Seen and not heard. It's such an awful attitude, I think our generation has gone past that. Anyway, let's move on. Spiritually speaking, can there be any value gained through the form of competitive competition? When we compete with anyone, like in a competitive board game, our maturity is being tested. Can we maintain a sense of detachment even in the midst of competition? That's a measure of maturity, really. In other words, are we able to have a degree of detached witnessing, being an observer of the whole activity going on as we play a competitive game? Or are we so identified with desperately trying to win or not lose that we can't have fun in the process? When we lose, are we bitter? And when we do win, are we gloat over our victory? You know, of course, it doesn't feel good when we come out in the short end of a competitive activity, yet still, we are still able to keep a balanced composure. Are we able to keep a balanced composure in either scenario, whether we win or lose? Is called mature sportsmanship in sports and in life. Somehow, by the grace of God, I don't know why I had this ability as in high school. I had the inherent ability to be sportsmanlike most of the time. For example, in high school, I was part of a varsity championship basketball team. So, Leon, yes, we did like to win. In order to stay in first place in our division, we were doing our best to win every game. Yet once we lost a very close game, and I felt very sad and disappointed. But something in me, I was compelled to walk into the opposing team's locker room and congratulate those players who had just defeated us. Good sportsmanship is invaluable, an invaluable life skill that translates to more than just sports. Good sportsmanship in social interactions can include being respectful, kind, and empathetic with others, being present to others with others in their interactions. It can also include actively listening, understanding different perspectives, even if they're totally opposite of ours, resolving conflicts peacefully. This kind of maturity sometimes requires us to walk in someone else's shoes, even when we're at odds with them. And God knows we're coming up with the presidential election. Oh my God. So much division. As I said earlier, in worldly playfulness, we play competitively in order to win against an opponent. So far in today's talk, I have been addressing this kind of playfulness, where there is a winner or a loser. Now I will discuss spiritual playfulness, where we are open to play in the now. And as we play in the now, we are cooperating with everything and everyone else. In spiritual playfulness, everyone wins. A good question to occasionally ask ourselves might be, am I having fun yet, like I asked you earlier? Or am I playing enough? Am I playing enough? These questions come to light for me a few weeks ago during a conversation I was having over lunch with two friends of mine. While we were just sharing some challenges we're having, you know how it is with these bodies that keep getting older. You know, he turned to me and he said, "Play more. You need to play more." And it really hit me because I knew he was right. Yeah, I need to play more. I said, I just need to dance, you know, just dance free, just let go. Soon after that meeting, an opportunity to play just happened to show up. Our family was in an outing over here in California at a local Pacific Coast beach near Santa Cruz. My older son, Seth, was visiting here from Denver, Colorado, along with my wife, Shakti's nephew, and his daughter, who were visiting from New Jersey. My older son, Sean, and my younger son, Sean, and his wife, Kasia, were also there. Understand that my kids are 38 and 41. Shakti's nephew is in his 50s and his daughter is 21. And Shakti's 5.5 years younger than me, my wife. So as we gathered at the beach, my son gets a volleyball and there's a net. So we go over to the play at the net. And I'm 77 years old, right? You know that. We didn't pick teams and we weren't trying to see who wins or loses. We're just having fun knocking the ball over the net, you know. And years ago, I used to be pretty good volleyball player. I was able to respond quickly when the ball came over my direction. Sometimes I would leap up and spike the ball over the net. However, that day, something very different I felt. And it just happened to me also when I did a wedding recently and I was dancing afterward. I just felt like so uncoordinated, unable to respond when the ball came over the neck, afraid I was going to like fall down or I couldn't reach down for the ball. I said, "What is this? This is not fun." And I used to have such good reflexes and ability to move. Now, what I'm talking about now is a critical aging juncture that we all face or are facing now. Do we give up physical, playful activities as soon as we see that we seem not to be able to do with them anymore? Or do we challenge ourselves to make an attempt to overcome those seeming limitations, to keep doing whatever we can to keep playing? When I walk with my kids, believe me, they don't slow down. You have to keep up with them. They challenge me to stay strong. So I started doing some physical movements, some exercises, some physical therapy things, because I was like, what I was doing when I was walking is I was shuffling my feet, and I was wondering, why is everybody walking so much faster than I am? You know, and I realized I had slowed down so much, and so now I have this exercise that I do, and it really helps me lift my feet, walk much faster. Of course, I'm still not as fast as most people, but faster. A nurse also at a health clinic noticed that I was wobbling when I walked. And so now I did the whole. I just met with a physical therapist last week. I'm doing these movements, they're helping me find this balance and grounding in my body so I can be stronger. I mean, I'll do the best I can, since I want to go out and play volleyball again, and I was shooting baskets with my son. I couldn't even get the ball up to the rim, and I used to be a pretty good basketball player. So I'm just challenging myself, and I don't know if that's important to you, but my kids, they want to play, and I want to play with them. Everybody's different, and that may not be important to you. And play doesn't necessarily mean physical things, but there are ways we can play no matter how old we are. I still ride my bike 3 times a week for an hour each time. I walk regularly. I do yoga, physical therapy. I try to keep active as best I can, and there'll be a time when I have to give up those active, playful, strenuous physical activities. But until then, I'm not giving up. I'm doing the best I can, to play, and for me is spiritual childlike playfulness, where I'm following my intuition, or as Joseph Campbell would say, I'm following my bliss. The thing is to play more, or at least play a little, or at least as much as we can. This childlike playfulness keeps us vital as we're able to just be that playful person. A young child is naturally plays for the sake of playing. That's pure spiritual playfulness. There's no agenda for the child other than just to have fun. To do that, we just play around and have fun. So you know what? I said, I'm going to play more. So I ordered a football online, and I went over to my son's house and we played catch with a football. Remember in that movie, Field of Dreams, when Costner, at the end, he saw his dad there and he said, let's play catch, And it was like, that was, I cried when I saw that, it just reminded me how important it was to play catch, not just with my dad, but with anybody, just to play catch, just play, like Frank was talking about that, just play catch. So important for me, but it's like I said, it's more than just physical activities. Playing can involve a competitive board game or complete a crossword puzzle. Case in point, Betty White. Betty White. That's how one of the ways she stayed young, kept her mind young and playful by doing crossword puzzles. She, as you know, some of you know, She hosted Saturday Night Live when she was 88. Come on, that's ridiculous. To host Saturday Night Live is not an easy thing. You have to organize the skits, you have to be part of the skits. It's not easy. 88 years old. She did that. And she did it really good. She was very funny. If you saw that segment, you can still catch it on recording a video. She was a playful person. You know Betty White, definitely a comedian, Comedians are hopefully playful. And she died 99 years old when she died. And unquestionably playful at 99. So the mind and heart of a playful childlike adult is open and flexible. Que sera, sera. Whatever will be, will be. The future is not ours to see. Que sera, sera. No worries, just being in the now, playing. That's what play does. It brings us to the now. Just no worries. That means be here now, playing. Open and to have fun, learning and growing like a child. So let's play more. Let's play and play and play. Discover more ways to keep playing. Grow for it. Amen.